I want to talk a little bit about the tools we have for sanity. I talk a lot about sanity, getting sane. And you'll see all over my blog, sanity, sanity, sanity. And in the coaching sessions that I do, I'm constantly talking about sanity, sanity. Let's get back to sanity. So what is it that I mean by sanity? I just want to point out that sanity is really, what I'm talking about here is freedom. What I'm talking about is the experience of being free, of being authentic, of being in peace, living without suffering. Suffering being a movement that happens when we are resisting or we are suppressing what is innate or our natural movements. So whatever's happening to us is usually fine, even though the mind may not like it if it's pain or something like that. But suffering is the additional movement of the wanting it to be different, needing it to be different, repressing something in order to be different. All of that activity is suffering. And that's part of insanity. And when I'm talking about sanity, I'm talking about just allowing ourselves to experience being here and being sane. So, feeling authentic, living freedom, living without suffering, and living inside of a peace. So, and from my point, I don't believe that you need to be awake or enlightened in order to have sanity. I particularly want to point out that we, all of us, everybody who's here with us tonight, and I'm sure anybody who's listening, generally has the experience of knowing people who have been awake or hearing about teachers who have been awake, but there's still a fair amount of insanity moving. They're not a completely free being. They're not embodied into that freedom. So you hear about like crazy addictions and crazy behaviors going on in their communities and inside of sort of satsangs and cultural practices that are insane. They're still running, even though you know that teacher is a very clear, very awake being. They're not, in fact, sane. They're not, in fact, living that freedom. And on the same scale, we know humans that are not awake or enlightened at all, but they're free. They're free. They're so authentic. They just beat to the drum, their own drum. You know, when we look at our cultural milieu of like all the storytelling through movies and through novels and through songs, I mean, there's constantly that hero, you know, that's that kick-ass, badass guy or gal who just does their own thing and is, you know, got their own sense of right and wrong and their own sense of morality and they're moving in their own authentic rhythm. But aside from in the cultural milieu, we know people like this, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with enlightenment. They may not be awake at all. So I just want to point that out, that where I'm coming from the point of view of sanity, and I'm not sort of making enlightenment the precursor to be sane. Sanity is available. And I know that it's available to every one of us in each moment. And it's in fact innate in us. And so what I want to talk about tonight are the tools, the basic tools we have, these very innate, natural habits we have, that if we know that's what's getting us sane, we can go there. So we live in an incredibly conditioned world. We have a lot of insanity. I think most of us, if you just look into the world, feel like it's insane. Many of us can look into our own lives and see this crazy rampant insanity, whether it's just the scheduling or busyness of our life, whether it's where we work, whether it's our family relationships, you know, relationships with our parents or our siblings, and we can see this kind of dysfunction and this insanity moving, that there's just this huge conditioning of insanity on our planet. And what I want to do is bring us back to the innate sanity of our being. So for assistance, I sometimes like to just sort of throw up a yardstick about what is insanity and what is sanity. I mean, intuitively, I'm, you know, pointing it out, but what I do is I'll take a scale, you know, and at one end we've got sanity, and at the other end we have insanity, and at the sanity end what we have is the most compassion. So really it's a scale of compassion. So the purest form of compassion, so let's put the Dalai Lama there, for instance, a master of compassion, as sanity, pure sanity, and then we go along the scale, less and less and less and less compassion, till the point of no compassion at all. And that's pure insanity. So let's put somebody like Hitler right there in that scale. Total lack of compassion, the embodiment of insanity. So there's this scale. Now most of the planet, unfortunately, is actually only about 3/4 of the way. We're not even half. We're about 3/4 of the way towards insanity. There's a general conditioning that brings us deeper and deeper away from our innate compassion, the innate love that we actually are, and that's available to us. And so but this isn't really, the point isn't that you just become the most compassionate person you possibly can and that's going to take you to sanity. The actual living embodiment of sanity, embodiment of freedom, has some structure involved in it. It has some ways to navigate the world and being in the world. And I really like to talk about this because I feel like with a lot of people there's a real sense that they want to leave the world. Whether it's, like just get out of the body, some kind of trance meditation state, or to go move to a small isolated town or go live in a mountaintop or something like that. And that isn't necessary to experience sanity. It's totally available. It's innate inside of all of us to live with it, to live in our lives. You can actually get up every morning and have sane work life and sane marriage life and same end of marriage. You can divorce in a sane way. You can live with peace, with freedom, with authenticity, with no suffering, right here, in and amongst the whole marketplace, the whole kabang. It's just knowing how to do it. It's just knowing how to get back there. And I want to tell you that you can. And I want to tell you that you have the ability to do it. And I want to tell you it's innate. It's an innate being inside of you. There's these innate pieces. So I have a new book coming out. It should be released in April. It's called The Tools for Sanity, in which I lay it out in a lot of detail. So I'm just going to briefly touch base, though, and give you some of these tools and sort of point out that it's available to you. So let's start with the first one. The first tool that is innate inside of you is awareness. Awareness is a really primary tool for sanity. And awareness is completely a part of you. There's no part of you that you cannot be aware. You have to actually condition yourself to not be aware. So I'm not talking about some grand sense of awareness out there. I'm talking about right in this moment you're aware of my voice. Right in this moment you're aware of the sounds. Right in this moment, there's nowhere that you're ever going to be in your life that you're not aware of something. That run-of-the-mill, totally ordinary, absolutely part of you awareness. That's awareness. That's it. That's it. It never is more than that. There's not some great place of awareness that you land in and suddenly that's awareness. It's just this. It's this everyday, ordinary, you can hear, your kid call to you. You're picking up the phone and it's your boss. You're aware of the phone. You're aware of the toaster. You're aware of my voice. You're aware of the computer screen or the webcam or whatever it is that you're watching this on. Just run-of-the-mill, everyday awareness is an incredible tool. It's a massive tool. In fact, it is what actually creates the whole world and all of everything that goes on. It's very powerful and very magic, and it's not anything more than the ordinary awareness that you are right now. And in our meditation we did at the beginning, where we were using our awareness to bring ourselves to the present moment, where we're using our awareness to listen for stillness, where we're using our awareness to feel our spines, that awareness. So really, just, for the point of tonight is just to listen to that awareness. Be aware of that awareness. And see if there are places that you actively block, because that's what we do. We've been, we're conditioned from children on and even beyond that. We have to actively block our innate natural awareness. So my neighbor on the weekend had a party with all these beautiful little 3-year-olds laughing, belly laughs. It was the most fabulous thing to listen to this roaring belly gut laugh. And afterwards I went over to him because they were playing some kind of game, and I said it was like such a gift, you know, how awesome to listen to the kids laughing all afternoon. And he looked at me and was like, what are you talking about? And he was there manning the barbecue, engaged in a conversation, and blocked out, you know, so habitual of blocking out his 3-year-old, who what I'm sure he feels like is a survival skill, but it's not necessarily. But we actively block our awareness. So here's the invitation. That ordinary, everyday awareness that you have is important. How do you block it? So that's the first tool for sanity. The second tool to get back to being sane is acceptance. And acceptance, in its sort of boiled down source, is willingness, is yes. It's always often referred to as yes. Sometimes acceptance feels like some kind of bowed head, drop down, like I have to put up with something. And I'm not talking about that. I'm taking it away from the whole story and just saying acceptance, acknowledgement, witness. This is here. Something is here. A willingness to notice. Yes, an innate yes to it. Being available. It's the opposite of repressing or suppressing is acceptance. So really that is an incredibly invaluable tool. And when I'm talking about using it as a tool for sanity, I am always pointing to bringing a deep acceptance to all the movements inside of you. So inside, not external acceptance, internal acceptance. So whatever arises, whatever's moving. Last night, a good friend was over, and in a kind of a really vulnerable moment, she said to me, I just don't believe in myself. I just don't have faith in myself. And I was able to say, yes. In this moment, let's accept that. Yes. We are conditioned to want to run from that. We're conditioned to want it to be something else, anything else, or like ashamed to admit that that's there. But when I'm talking about bringing ourselves back to sanity, it's about saying yes and noticing that. It's about opening ourselves up and hearing and knowing in this moment what I am experiencing is no belief in myself. So that's awareness that that's even occurring, and an acceptance. Yes, no movement to change it or repress it or hide it. Just a simple willingness to say, yeah, this is what's moving. And there's such a resistance. There's such a resistance to do that, because the mind thinks that if I do that, I'm going to grow the experience, or I'm going to indulge the experience of not believing in myself or unworthiness. And in fact, the direct experience is the very, very opposite. That in fact, when we bring ourselves to the deep yes, we actually begin to liberate that experience. It's the movement, the insane movement of repressing and suppressing that keeps it locked, that actually grows it. It's actually the opposite in the direct experience. The mind tells another story, I know, but that's the practice. That's the invitation to move ourselves back to sanity, to start to live in the world, embodying our freedom, embodying our peace, embodying our authenticity. It means noticing, bringing that awareness to ourselves and bringing a deep yes into that. So all the movements inside of us, we just bring this deep yes. So that, I mean, you can almost feel inside of that. And when I'm working with people in the coaching and on the privates, and when I'm with people, undoing the insane habits to repress ourselves is such a homecoming. It's such an incredible relief, even just that much. So acceptance, a profound tool of acceptance. And my invitation for you is to just take the next week, 7 days, 5 days, 7 days, and just be aware of what's arising as you, with no story, no judgment. Just say yes. This is me frustrated. This is me hungry. This is me irritated. This is me bored. Yes. Just yes. No movement to repress it, change it, find something else. Just yes. Yes to it. So the third tool that I have It's what I call alchemy, but it's actually healing, just healing. I call it alchemy because it's deep transformation. So because sometimes when we think of the word healing, we think of either like a great massage or some kind of body work or a doctor, or we think of a psychological healing. We think about a therapist, which is really kind of reordering what's going on in our minds and restructuring it. So I kind of move away from the word of healing, but really that's what it is. So it's alchemy, it's transformation. So what happens when we begin to get still, when we begin to get quiet, is that pain shows up. So at first, and I watch this all the time, there's that beautiful liberation when we first discover meditation. You first sort of sit on the cushion or take 5 minutes to be still, and you start to notice like this incredible liberation of, oh my God, I'm not my thoughts. Oh my God, there's a space outside of those thoughts. Oh my God. And it's just this vast liberation, and it's so fantastic. And that's like the beautiful little honeymoon phase of meditation. But very quickly, the next phase comes along. And the next phase is the pain. The tears begin. The grief begins. All of our repressed wounds, our heartbreaks over the years, begin to float up. They come up to be healed in the silence, in the stillness. We're finally, when we sit down and are still for a moment, we're finally aware, and when we use acceptance, we're finally available to what's here. And a lot of what we have been repressing is pain. So that's what comes up, is all this pain. So the good news is you are innately a healer. It is totally available. In exactly the same way, awareness for you it's ordinary for every human being. It's like there's no place you can't be aware. Acceptance is also totally available. Willingness is always available. It's never a stretch. Willingness, just willingness, an ability to just witness, just say yes, is always here. It's not a stretch, it's not an effort, it's available. And so is healing. Every single one of us are. Our true nature is healers. We are healers. And the most healing essence inside of us is our love, is our compassion, and is our tenderness. That is actually the force that heals. So when the pain arises and begins to come up, all that is required is for us to bring our deepest compassion and our deepest love to it. And it immediately loosens it from its repressed place and unfolds itself. And as it unfolds itself, it actually unfolds itself into more compassion, because that's actually the source of everything. Is at its very basic, the very great vast stillness that is here for us and available for us is primarily, the primary experience of it, or the quality of it, is compassion, is love. And so pain is actually just contorted energy that when we bring something a very efficient moving energy, which is love, the most efficient moving energy in the planet, it's actually the vast default of every single form on the planet is space. Its source is space. Space and compassion are the same thing. Compassion moves most efficiently when the most efficient pattern touches a really condensed passion. The condensed moves into the more efficient pattern. All things in nature move towards their most efficient rhythm. So that's actually what transformation and alchemy means. And I'm just, I'm briefly talking about these things tonight. In my work and in my classes and all that kind of stuff, we go into a lot more depth about it. But just to kind of give you a taster of what I'm talking about, and to show you primarily what I want to show you is innately you have the ability to live in sanity. And it's not a stretch. You just need to know how to do it. And you just need to know what's stopping you from doing it. So you are a healer. It's innate inside of you. Here's how I know. If there was, and I don't know if it's a child, like if children are something that you're attracted to, or animals. Some people it's really animals, some people it's really humans. But imagine that you were to walk across the street, and standing on the other side of the street was a 3-year-old baby with a broken arm, bleeding by herself, standing there. Immediately, and I don't care your culture, your race, your age, doesn't matter. Immediately, your innate response is to rush there in love. There is a movement of love and compassion. You want to help. You want to go, you want to touch. Like there's this movement to go and touch. And if it's, you can do the same with a dog, with a puppy. Imagine a puppy in the middle of the street with a broken arm and blood everywhere, yelping. Immediately, every person on the planet, no matter the age, no matter the culture, no matter the background, no matter what, will move in love to help. That's your innate ability to heal, right there. It's that ordinary, it's that basic, it's that essential and a part of you. And that movement is what you bring to the pain that arises. So as the pain begins to arise, you hold it in this vast compassion. So with my beautiful friend last night, who was was arising in the moment, what was her in the moment was, I don't believe in myself. I'm not worthy. I don't have faith in myself. And it was like, yes, let's hold that. And let's bring all the tenderness, all the love that you have to that. And hold that. That is sane. Insanity is pretending it's not there, repressing it, running away from it, avoiding it, being in some kind of story loop to get the hell away from it. That's insanity. And that's primarily how we were conditioned to move on this planet. And I want to point out that we can move in terms of sanity. It's available, it's effortless, it's here for us. The last part of living in sanity is what I call alignment, which is, standing inside of your yes. This is authenticity. So what I'm talking about is, for my coaching and my teaching, I find it's really easy for people to access this when I talk about it in terms of a really delicious, yummy yes. So given a number of options that would be available in any one moment, you're listening for the one that feels like a delicious, yummy yes in any moment. Now the mind has a story that, it's like, oh, if I could do anything, I'd always take a nap. That's the most yummiest thing. I'm so freaking tired. I'd take a nap. And that's all I'd ever pick. So I can't follow my delicious yes. This is the mind story. The very direct experience of that in any moment is not. In fact, it's the guide of your right action. So in any moment, your delicious yes might be making toast and cheese. It might be being outside and having some wind on your face, stretching your legs for a moment. It might be, it might actually be paying the bills. Paying the bills can be a delicious yes in the direct experience. Doing the dishes, doing vacuuming can actually show up as a delicious yes when we're aligned with our delicious yeses. When we're not aligned with our delicious yeses, it is not. So the invitation, or the final tool that I have for sanity, is standing inside of our deep alignment, standing inside of our authenticity. It takes a huge amount of courage. It takes a huge amount of faith. But from where I stand, which is often, really at the quantum place, where I'm watching all of silence and space coming into these forms, this couch, this body, this camera, where I am, these forms are kind of secondary, and the space that is sort of coding itself into these shapes is what I'm seeing all the time. And in every moment, there is always the possibility for you to stand in what is deeply true for you. And the way you know it's a deeply true moment for you is it feels delicious. It feels like there's nothing I'd rather do right now than that. And you can live your entire life moving just from one delicious yes to the next, to the next, to the next. I really feel like stretching right now. I really feel like talking right now. I really feel like loving right now. following that. And I know there is no conditioning that one has ever received that would reinforce that. That every bit of our conditioning on this planet has enforced us to move in a different direction, has enforced us to move with quite a lot of insanity, quite far from our authenticity. Very, very far. There's a story about shoulds. There's a story about cultural, keeping it all together. There's a story about I have to hold this role and you have to hold this role. And all of that is the structuring of insanity, lack of compassion. So to begin to stop it and right now do it is to stand there. And in order to stand there, after a lifetime of being conditioned away, it takes some skills. It takes some skill. The first and foremost skill it takes is communication, which is an art form, an always evolving art form. We're never finished with communication. Nobody is ever an expert at communication. We just have to learn how to do it. There's some great tools, of course, in the psychological world, using I statements instead of you statements. The most incredible masterpiece is Marshall Rosenberg's Nonviolent Communication, which is just absolutely the tool, a simple tool to give voice to your heart, how to speak it. But essentially it's learning how to talk, because really when we were given language and we were learning language, it was all based around shoulds and ought tos and roles. And when we're starting to come from what is my most delicious yes in this movement, you will often find yourself at a lack of words, an inability to express it, and you need some tools. You need some tools at your side. You need some communication skills to figure out how to say what you need to say. And then the second part of it is the courage to stand in it. So, imagine that you set up 10 friends to go on a bike ride, and they traveled long distances, and they took time off work to all come and meet because you were so excited to get everyone together. You spent hours on a picnic lunch. All 10 of you get on your bike, and as soon as you get on your bike, you can feel a very different delicious yes. The delicious yes is to just be quiet and sit alone on a park bench. Oh, you can't imagine anything better than that. How, in that moment, do you find the words to say that? 9.9% of the time, you won't. You'll just do it. And that's what I'm talking about. We are so conditioned to insanity. There is a place where you can actually speak that, where you can actually say compassionately, in a way that does not isolate you or separate you. That. And I promise you, when you do, and then you have to stand there, then you have to actually get off the bike and walk over to the park bench and sit on it. When you do that, everybody else is given permission to be authentic and find the right alignment. And here's the secret that I know that I will tell you. There's only one of us here. This vast, gorgeous space, there's only one of us here. So if it is true for you, and how you know that is a delicious yummy for you, it's true for everyone else. So when you get off the bike and actually go and sit on the park bench, it is going to be, and I know this is what I can tell you, and eventually you're going to watch it enough times that you're going to get it. Suddenly, everybody else has an opportunity to lay on the beach and lay on the beach and stretch, and someone else has been starving, and so they finally have a moment to go and get some food, and somebody else is sore and has a sore back and isn't actually wanting to do the bike ride but wanted to connect with everybody, so we'll sit on the bench with you. And somebody else, all of their right actions will line up when you have the courage to say and stand in yours. So I deeply encourage you to practice it and watch what happens. And I know you got to grow some great big balls to do it. You have not been conditioned to do it. I know. None of us have. But this is sanity. This is living our authenticity. This is how we do that. So those are the 4 basic tools. The book coming out in April goes in, of course, a lot more detail about each of those. And of course, in any of my events or anything that I'm doing, I have a lot more. We can crack each one of those open infinitely and go into it. But what I want to point out is that you are capable of being sane. It's available to you in every moment. And in fact, it's an innate, effortless ability. You've just been conditioned away from it. So it's discovering the unique wiring that has kept you away from this real basic sanity. So, so just touching base with those points. But I had some questions that came into me when I was sort of opening up that this event would be happening, and I'm quite sure they have not joined us. I'm not exactly sure why everybody got lost today. I can see there's a few of us here, but there's about, I can see there was like 20 or 25 people that have touched in and left or something, so leaving just sort of a core group. So I'm not sure if you guys are here, but I did get your questions, and I want to take a moment right now. We have about another half an hour left in this web stream, so I want to just take a few minutes and look at some of these questions and kind of address them. And I really, really appreciate you sending them in and asking me about them. So the first question I have came in from Chris. It looks like he's on the West Coast here in the United States. And Chris has a really beautiful question. He says, my mind can't handle that total acceptance you talk about. Totally accepting everything. What about enlightenment? What about any life goals? What about getting somewhere? Even though I know striving isn't really how I want to be living, I know there's still this longing to make something happen. And it leaves me with this feeling of, then what do I do? So that's a great question, Chris. Thank you very much. And I think a lot of people are aware of that and have that same sensation. What I want to say is that, of course, the mind can't do it. The mind is not the innate ability to be willing. The mind is a tool that categorizes and classifies. It filters information and classifies it. It isn't a tool of acceptance. So the mind, it's really, I know, it's really painful for the mind. It can be really depressing. It can be really like a really yucky feeling to head in that direction. But the direct experience is the opposite. The direct experience is actually the only place that transformation or the longing to get somewhere else can actually happen. Because we cannot actually transform or move at all until we bring great acceptance to it. We have to be aware and accept it. Without acceptance, if there is not an acceptance, it will not change. It's quantumly impossible. And I don't really have time to go into the quantum mechanics of the way acceptance works, but what I just want to say is that practice it, try it. So it's like override those. So the mind says, what do I do? And the answer is nothing. This is not a job for the mind. This is not a job for the mind. This is a job for the direct experience. And what you are doing is becoming sane. What you are doing is being aware, is accepting with willingness, is healing, bringing compassion and love to everything that arises into you, and standing in your authenticity, speaking it and embodying it. That's what you're doing, and that will transform you. That will bring you into peace. It will bring you into freedom. It will bring you into authenticity. That's fulfillment right there. You want fulfillment? That's how you get there. So I'm sorry to the mind, and I know, and I have such compassion about how painful that can be for the mind, but I want you to just override it and do it anyway. Put the mind in rest mode and practice that anyway. Watch what happens, because peace is there. Peace is available there, and that's what is longed for from the system. So I hope that addresses that, and if there's more to it, feel free to send it in, and we can talk about it in the next webcast or something like that. So I have another question. This is a really good one, actually. This came in from Dave, and he's on the East Coast. He's actually not in the United States. Sorry, he's in Europe. So I'm quite sure he's not with us. It's very late in Europe right now, but this is being recorded, so I hope you hear this, Dave. Dave, this is very similar. I hear this question a lot, so thank you for sending this in. Dave says, MGC, you guys, is Mystic Girl in the City, so it's my rapper name, MGC. It's my code name. So MGC, so my mind activity just goes and goes and goes and goes. It's anxiety, it's fear. It's so hard to not get carried away by these thoughts. And they're exhausting. It's so hard to shut it out. I find that I can't get to sleep. It'll take me hours to get to sleep, or it'll wake me up in the middle of the night and I can't get back to sleep. And then I am tired and I am exhausted, and I find that the next day gets even worse. It wears me down. So, such compassion to you, because, and I think everyone feels this because people know this, people live this. This is a very real experience. There's only one thing that you can do, is bring your awareness off of the mind stream and into the body. So that's, I recorded the meditation that we did earlier. I'll probably post it as a secondary thing that you can listen to. Dave's actually with us in our call series. And at the beginning of our week sessions, we always do a meditation that's recorded so you can listen to it. But on YouTube, you can find these meditations. You can listen to Eckhart Tolle, you can listen to something, and it can bring you off of the mind stream and into the breath, into the body, into the present moment. And this is not something that happens instantly. You need to be doing it for 15 or 20 minutes. So it's really allowing yourself that time, that 15 or 20 minutes of bringing yourself to the breath, and then the thought stream captivates you, and then you bring yourself back to the breath, and then a thought captivates you, and you bring yourself back to the sensations in the body, and then the thought stream catches you, and then you bring yourself. So you have to do this for a while, because we spent most of the day captivated by this thought stream. That's where we're habitually centering, and to bring ourselves into a different place of center, into the present moment, off of the thought stream, it takes a little bit of time. So that's the first step, is that it takes some time. So that means go to bed earlier. That means you need to shut it all down and begin the process. So taking good care of yourself is to do that. It means taking that extra half an hour, and not in a way that's going to wind the mind up, but in a way that's going to bring yourself. So it's like, whatever your night routines are, brushing the teeth and turning off the lights and locking everything down in order to lay in bed and listen to a meditation. Or listening to a meditation, not watching a TV show that's got cops and robbers and tons of activity and tons of movement, or doing something that's very calming to the system, drinking chamomile tea, having a hot shower, or a hot bath, whatever feels better. Doing things that bring you into the body, bring you off of the thought stream. And that's going to help. And in terms of the middle of the night, so that's preparing yourself for bed. Just the acceptance that this is happening and giving yourself the space. And the next piece is waking up in the middle of the night. So when you wake up in the middle of the night, and this is really uncomfortable because you feel like you could almost go back to sleep, but you don't. I know this one so well. Everybody does. The thoughts just go and go and go and go and go and go and go, and before you know it, it's like 3 hours later. So this is what you have to do. If you're sleeping with a partner, you have to get up and get out of bed. And hopefully there's room in your room for a little meditation, or a little mat, or a little something cozy, maybe just pillows or cushions, to go over there with your blanket. Because you got to get up. Because in that hover place, the mind's going to get you. If you're sleeping alone, get up and turn the light on and sit in a sitting position. And you're going to take 15 minutes, and you're going to bring your awareness back to your breath. You're going to take your awareness off the thought stream and into the breath. In those thoughts is a storyline seducing you, thinking that, like the storyline says, this is so important. This is so important. We have to look at it right now. It's so important. It's so important. Don't be duped. Get up. Get over to the side and sit, bringing your awareness to the breath. There is nothing that important in the middle of the night. It's just not. Doing that practice. And over time, it may not be instant, but over time, that conditioning is going to help you. And the other thing is to really, when you're up against the gun, because my guess is that mind activity gets particularly full of, you're talking about anxiety and fear, when there's something stressful going on in your life, maybe stressful relationship, maybe stressful with work. And so really setting your life up in a way that you can access this kind of quiet or still place when it's not so stressful is going to give you a better opportunity when it is stressful. So, yeah, I've heard this example before, but it's a really good one. It's like, lighting a fire in the rain is impossible. Like, everything's soaked, everything's wet. It's really freaking hard to light a fire in the rain. However, if you have a really good fire going and it starts to rain, it's going to take a lot of rain to put the fire out. So living in a way that you take good care of yourself. And I don't necessarily mean it in terms of like eat right and do that stuff, but I kind of do mean that, like, less preservatives and less sugar makes the mind less loopy. We can see that with kids. Getting, a good run in every day, the body needs some physical movement, or it gets angsty and the mind starts going. So I do mean that in a way. But I also mean it's like first thing in the morning when the mind wants to grab you with really, really aggressive, mean thoughts. Getting out of the conversation, bringing your awareness to your breath, bringing your awareness into the moment, get out, make some toast, make some coffee, get dressed, put on a happy song, change the channel. And in the day when there's a stressful scenario happening with your boss, with work, with relationship, giving yourself time afterwards to process it so it doesn't have to wait until the middle of the night to be processed. So if you're in work and suddenly there's a really stressful situation, or it was a really stressful work day and there was a lot going on, when you get home, no matter what, kids, dogs, barking, soccer lessons, there's always time to just take a moment, go make dinner by yourself, or go for a walk around the block with the dog, or go have a snuggle with the kids. Oh my God, kids love that so much, to just take some downtime to process, to let your system catch up. So starting to live your life in a way that's allowing spaciousness to come in and hold you. So I hope that helps. It's true for all of us. So just total compassion. And the essence of that is to get out of the conversation. But don't believe that it's so important. Don't let it spin. Cut it off. And just bring your awareness back to your breath, bring your awareness back to the present moment, to the sensations in the body. It's a great way to just cut it off. And it's not going to be instant. It's going to take 15 or 20 minutes to do it. So, but it's worth it. Just a few minutes left, but there's a really, really good question. Kristen wrote in. I think, Kristen, you won't be with us, but she says, why does anything need to be here at all? I often feel like I don't want to be here. I don't want to be human. Like I can live without form. I know that feeling. All this vastness, when I'm there, it's delicious, and I can get there. And then I just want to be there, and I don't want to come back. So that's a really good point. I hear it a lot. And I want to tell you something. I want to tell you that God is not separate from form. The thing that God is doing here, the thing that vast and stillness is doing, is it's making bodies and personalities and minds and relationships and homes and mortgages, and it's making form. That's what it's doing. The primary activity of this vastness is form. So why are we here? Because that's what God's doing. That is God's greatest love affair. Creating form, creating these bodies, creating these relationships and these lives and these experiences. But it's the pain. It's the pain that doesn't want, that's asking for you to not come back to it. And we have so much pain, so much heartbreak and betrayal. And that's primarily what's making it so hard to be here. I remember when I was about 13 years old, 13 or 14, and I discovered I could leave my body. I had so much violence, and there was just so much abuse that was happening. It was this amazing experience, whenever that was, about 13 years old, when I realized I could leave when this was happening to me. When I was being abused, I could just leave. And I didn't have to be here for it. And it was such a liberation. It was such a savior to me. And as I went through my teenagehood, I spent less and less time here. I left my body as much as I could. Not just when the violence was happening to me, but again and again and again. So I found myself in my mid-20s almost unable to stay in the body. Almost unable to be here. so traumatized. There was so much pain and so much trauma from the violence of my life that I couldn't be here for a second. And what happened was I created a whole nother layer of violence. It's actually violent to leave the body. There's a violence to separate from ourselves. And the way I came back is love. It was love that pulled me back. The love I have of this one, of this form, this heart, this woman, these legs, these toes, these bones, this rib cage. I love this woman. And we love ourselves, even though it hurts. And even though there can be so much pain, behind it all, but not subtly, it's actually there. We have profound love for ourselves. We actually adore who we are. There's no one else we would rather be. And that's true. That's not rhetoric. In the direct experience, there's this tremendous love for this one, this face, these eyes, this one. I love this one. And this is, way before I was awake, way before enlightenment. It was the pain of living so far from the body that eventually brought me back. But when I came back, the pain was outrageous. It was unbearable. I just wanted to die. I just didn't want to live anymore. The trauma and the memories and the stories and just the violence that was alive here was so horrifying. And it was love that healed that too. What I talked about earlier with healing, we can heal the pain in the body. It can be healed no matter what. I mean, no one actually has had more abuse and violence than I am. There is hardly a story out there that can scare me because I lived it. I lived through it all. And you can heal. You can heal from the most unbelievable, extraordinary pain can be healed simply, naturally, and you are the one to do it. I'm the one to do it for me. And it's through love. It's through holding it in tenderness and love. And that's how we heal. I promise you, it's that available and that simple. And it's actually in us. We love ourselves. We love these eyes. We love these fingers. We love this person. Even though it hurts so bad, and that's what's going to allow us to be here. God loves you. There's so much love raining down, saturating us in every moment. I was recently reading some journals that I was keeping in my first years of waking up, and I keep writing this phrase where it's like this, suddenly I realize the love that's available. And I say, I just want to wash our bones, rinse through the bones of love, and I want to polish all of those bones in tenderness so that we can fill and fill and fill and open up into ourselves. And that's here. There's a profound love, and we just have to lean in the direction of it. And we can know it. You know it. There's a corridor, a vein. So for now, let the love pull you here, pull you back into the body, and know that it's just the pain. It isn't God that wants you to not be here. It's pain. It's pain that doesn't want to be here. And what we do is we hold that, and we love that, and we're so tender to that. And that's what we do with it. So I'm going to stop here. We just have a few minutes left, and I have a few announcements that I want to make. I want to talk a moment about what are my group sessions. So you'll see on my website, www.mysticgirl.com, there's a little tab called group sessions, and if you open that, you'll see really what we're doing there is one-on-one time. So we begin with a meditation to just bring us all into stillness. It's a guided meditation. I guide us to that place. The group energy usually becomes quite still, and there's a lot of delicious presence. And from there, I take about 15 minutes with each person, sometimes 20. Allows us to get into something that's alive and really work through the individual piece of that. So currently, it's incredibly affordable. It's like $15, and you can do it every week. And there's just nothing better than having one-on-one an outside eye with a lot of clarity to see what's going on and mirror it for you. So right now I do it on Wednesday nights and Monday mornings. So that's kind of there's a time zone in North America that can fit for that. I'm opening up one for Europe. We're beginning that one. It's actually going to be Tuesday night in Europe. So France and England, Germany, Austria, all of you guys, it'll be somewhere around 7 o'clock, 6, 7, or 8 o'clock on Tuesday night. I think there's 3 seats still open in that European. So if you know anybody, because I know you guys all talk on Facebook, who's in Europe, who you think might really love some really affordable, and for Europe it's very affordable, it's like 10 euros or something, to have this direct one-on-one time, let them know. And if you're in Europe watching this, just send us an email, because we got 3 seats available. And I am making available an Australian one. We have a couple of people from Australia and that whole region in that time zone. And that will be on Saturday mornings for you guys. So it's like 10 a.m. Saturday morning. So that one's going to be open. But I'm waiting to hear from more people. I need at least 3 or 4 people. So again, if you know anybody in Australia, send them a note, or anybody who's in Australia, send a note. So yeah, so Saturday mornings if you're in the Australian time zone, and Tuesday nights if you're in Europe, and Monday mornings and Wednesdays. So there's a spot. There's a spot. There's just no reason to not come and get some personal time in an incredibly affordable way. I have a day long coming up if you happen to be in the Bay Area of like Northern California in the Bay Area. I'm going to be in Oakland. I'm an incredibly Shakti rich person. I have a lot of presence that emanates. So my days are usually the day long. We just come and we saturate, we soak in it. It gets really delicious in the room, and of course from that delicious Shakti presence energy, people can just unwind themselves beautifully. We spend a lot of time one-on-one. There's lots of one-on-one guidance. We can go into a lot more detail about some of these tools for Sanity. Really affordable. It includes a really great lunch. You'll find it on my blog. So that's coming up on March 2nd. Also, this is what I really want to tell everybody. We're going to Hawaii. I'm going to be in Hawaii March 20th through the 24th, and it's awesome. The way it's set up is we're going to be on the Big Island. So Big Island, that's the volcanoes, the black sand beaches, two, I think, of the very best beaches of all of the islands are right there on the Big Island near Kona. But we're going to be parked, so this is so fun. We're going to be in this little village on the East Coast, and there's Wendy, who's setting this up for us, has a really great hotel with unbelievably cheap rates, particularly for Hawaii, but really, really cheap, like $20 a night for a dorm room, and like 3-bedroom suite for $90 a night. We're gonna everybody can stay. We'll all stay together. There's a kitchen to cook from in this village, and what I'm doing is a talk every night in a different town on the Big Island. So it's a great way, and that's just in the evening, so it leaves the daytime to go snorkeling, whale watching, dolphin watching, hiking volcanoes, whatever. And then that evening we'll be doing a talk. So one night in Kona, so that's a great day to be sightseeing in and around Kona. And then that night we'll do a satsang, a dharma talk, whatever floats your boat, an evening talk I call them. And then the next night I'll be in Hilo, so that's all around the volcano area and in and around that place. And where the village that we're staying in is close to the, I don't even know how you pronounce it properly, so I'm not going to do it, but there's a big, beautiful rainforest on the east coast, northeast coast of the Big Island, and that's where the village is actually at the base of that gorgeous rainforest. So, yeah, and then we're going to, so it's 3 nights, 3 different towns on the Big Island. Do what you want in the daytime, and we finalize that on the Saturday. We're going to spend a whole day in the sunshine, saturating in a lot of presence. It's just like the perfect ideal holiday, and it's incredibly affordable. So look at the details and come and join us in Hawaii, and that's at the end of March. Every month I'm going to be here. The second Tuesday of every month I will be here online, figuring out technical difficulties if there has been any, and working through that. But it's the second Tuesday of every month. It's $10. The $10 ones, you can Skype with me and we can answer questions directly through Skype, or you can chat type them as well. But it's an extra feature, which is why the $10 it pays for that platform where we can Skype one-on-one with each other. But whatever, $10, it's quite easy. You don't have to even get a sitter or leave your home. It's just very available. So I'm going to be here every month. Spread the word. Send me any questions that you want, and I can bring them up in the shows. And last of all is I ask you to spread the word, to just let people know that this is out here and I'm doing this work, and to check me out, because your enthusiasm and your endorsement is really why I'm here. I'm here to talk to you. I'm here to figure it out with you. I'm here to find sanity with you. And so, meet me here. So that's all I want to say. I don't see any chatting up. I see that we have a couple of viewers, but anyways, we're right at our time to close. So I'm going to wish you all a beautiful night, and send you lots of love, and wish you a beautiful week. And until we meet again, however we meet again, many blessings. Good night.